It's a couple of days before Halloween, and I want to take the time to do something scary. One of the greatest casualties of our age is the death of good storytelling in Hollywood. From Disney making everything lame and gay, to the utter death of historical epics like Braveheart and Gladiator, which we don't really see anymore because they're now being replaced with shells of their former selves, with prequels and sequels. Today we're only left on the eve of Halloween to look back at good storytelling. Now before you watch, I want to warn you, there will be spoilers ahead, as well as tears when you finally realize that the storytelling that you're about to hear has died under the knife of secularism, and there may not be any turning back. Okay, if you want to know the truth, I think modern Halloween celebrations are pretty dumb. But it does serve as a platform, a springboard for me to kind of dig up a dead show that is one of my favorites, but unfortunately long forgotten. So if you hear a bit of lamentation in my nostalgia, you'd be right. Well, that and heaping piles of rage and indignation that burn like an inferno in me because I hate that we can't enjoy nice things anymore because the left absolutely destroys everything that they touch. And they largely occupy the places of storytelling in our culture, especially in Hollywood. So let me be clear. I'm not really nostalgic for the past. I know time machines don't exist. I don't want to go back and experience the past. I want to experience good things. And it just seems that good things were much more prevalent in the past than they are now. And it's not because the newness of these things has worn off. And it's not just because I'm being overly nostalgic again. It's because good things are rare in our culture. This kind of nostalgia that I'm talking about, it's not just that I want to experience these things for myself even. It's the fact that I lament that my kids are not going to experience these good things, and people in the future won't if something doesn't change. So the kind of nostalgia that I'm communicating seems to be a lot more common these days, a lamentation of the destruction of things that cannot be experienced in the present. So I blame secularism for destroying just about everything it can. And most importantly, something near and dear to my heart as a Christian, and that is art. See, I believe God is truly the author of everything that is truly beautiful and good and true. And deconstructionists, much like Satan, hate the things that are beautiful. Thus, he works overtime in our generation, degrading art with cheap knockoffs or even destroying past artwork because deconstructionists, inspired by Satan, they say they want to tear down oppressive structures, but they really don't. Here's what they really do. They tear down because they are possessed with envy. See, this is real Marxism at the end of the day, by the way. It's not the proletariat and the bourgeois. It's a demonic rage over people who have achieved more than you, so you want to burn them and it all down. In other words, Marxists blame the bourgeois so that they don't have to blame themselves. They'd rather leave behind a pile of ash than to contribute because they're lazy.
Emma Brown, a spokesperson for Just Stop Oil, the group responsible, says the shock factor is intentional.
There is that moment where someone goes, oh, security!
This is also why they typically don't bathe and wear black all the time because they don't have laundry machines. Anyway, this is also why they don't produce good art, because art requires humility, not constant resentment. So with this in mind, one of the greatest casualties of our age is the death of good storytelling in Hollywood. From Disney making everything lame and gay, to the utter death of historical epics like Braveheart and Gladiator, which we don't really see anymore because they're now being replaced with shells of their former selves, with prequels and sequels. And there's no novel ideas in Tinseltown. Well, except
the age of men is over.
So yeah, Hollywood seems so concerned with DEI that they no longer care about telling good stories anymore. Today we're only left on the eve of Halloween to look back at good storytelling, at a spooky series that was a product of its time, but timeless in its excellent storytelling. No, not every episode was great, but it's much better on its worst day than anything in our modern time. And I'm talking about the series Twilight Zone. So the series combined horror and mystery without needing nudity or violence. Rather, it's stuck with character development and good writing. It's one of the best things Hollywood, in my mind, has ever produced. It wasn't afraid to address issues like race, war, despotism, Holocaust, tragedy, hope, redemption, and even hell. So today I want to take you back to the original Twilight Zone to illustrate how one black and white TV show could tell a better story in about 20 minutes than a 2-hour-long CGI-filled blockbuster. Today, I introduce you to one of my favorite episodes of the original Twilight Zone, A Nice Place to Visit. Hey, we'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I do have to pay some bills, and I do have to honor a great friend of the show. If you're looking for an online or in-person cooking class experience, you need to check out Sweet and Savory Classroom. Now, nobody is going to tell you what I'm about to tell you, but that's because I love my neighbor. I'm going to tell you the truth in love. You probably don't cook as good as you think you do. And it could always be better, right? So why not take an online cooking class at Sweet and Savory to help you learn how to make some of the most amazing meals? Now, I'm going to take a class on beef Wellington because I love that dish and it is incredibly difficult to make. But Jeff and the crew over at Sweet and Savory, they make it look incredibly easy. Now, you can do this online or you can do this in person. All you have to do is go to their website, sweetandsavoryclassroom.com, where you can find a list of all their upcoming classes and a catalog of all their past classes that you can stream right from your home. So go to sweetandsavoryclassroom.com, and when you check out, use the promo code INDIEThinker for a discount on your order. Now, before you watch, I want to warn you, there will be spoilers ahead, as well as tears when you finally realize that the storytelling that you're about to hear has died under the knife of secularism, and there may not be any turning back. Enter a one Henry Francis Valentine, a two-bit crook looking to make a buck by knocking over a pawn shop. Only this night, our main character is not going to make it out alive. That's right, this is a tragedy. After a gunfight with the cops, Henry is taken out, and then he is ushered into his eternal reward. Now, Henry's guardian angel is a man named Pip, a portly fellow in a white suit, and he welcomes Henry into a world where his every delight is but a command away. He can get money, women, fame, and wealth await him just at the slightest command. Now, he's living it up, gambling and never losing. And there isn't a single thing he wants that he can't have. All worldly pleasure is his in abundance. And Henry, well, he likes it for a week or two, but eventually becomes bored to tears. He's finally had enough when he calls on Pip to help. Pip promises that he can arrange for some of the women to say no and even for him to lose at the craps table. After all, this is a place where Henry gets his every desires met. But Henry scoffs at this because he'll know that he pre-planned it all along and the winning and the losing won't matter if he's the one who pre-arranged it all in the first place. He needs surprise. He needs something that transcends himself, something bigger than himself. And he's had enough. So in a fit of rage, he yells at Pip and scolds him for the state of the affairs in heaven. And he shakes his fist at God and says, "Why would you bring me to a place like heaven if it's like this?" And that's when Pip indignantly looks at Henry and tells him,
"Whatever gave you the idea you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine? This is the other place."
And with those chilling words, Henry realizes what hell is all about, and more importantly, that many choose to live hell on earth by seeking all of their desires and pleasures, not realizing that if they actually got every single one of them, it wouldn't actually scratch the itch inside of the human soul. The moral of the story is that human desire is incredibly fickle and almost always misguided. And it takes you into a world of hedonistic pleasure that ultimately doesn't satisfy, even if you get what you want. In a world where you get everything, you realize that those things, they lose their intrigue and they're not that important. It's a reminder that finite things don't really have an infinite quality to them that can constantly cause you to be mystified and in awe. This is why most people outgrow the phase of women and booze and pursuing materialistic pleasure and settle down to have a family, because they realize that all of those things are truly empty inside. That's because C.S. Lewis knew something that we should all know by now, that if you find nothing in this world can satisfy you, then you must conclude that you were meant for something more than this world. The chilling thing about this episode is that many are trapped in hell even before they die because they never realize there's more to life than pleasure seeking. See, the theological message is that it isn't the flames of hell that make hell awful. It's the absence of a holy God. You were made to love and be loved by a God who is the only person that can fill the God-shaped hole that sits inside of your and every man's heart. Until you realize that, you'll be trapped, living in a nightmare, a hellish life, until you awaken from that God-absent reality and find true love, true light, and true life. And that is why we look back in horror at the massacre of modern culture that has been destroyed under the woke movement. It has left us in a world without TV writers that can even hold a candle to Rod Serling in the Twilight Zone. But most importantly, Rod reminds us that the real hell that we should fear is not just a world wrapped up in moral relativism and postmodernism, but in a world that is wrapped up in ourselves. The one that comes without God is a one that comes without true life. Everything else will be mundane and boring until you gaze upon the transcendent. And Rod Serling showed us that in this show and in many more, which is why I encourage you to check it out and then to think deeply on all the stories it has to tell you, and most importantly, where it should lead your soul as a result of the truths found in this wonderful series. All right, thanks so much for watching. I know that probably wasn't spooky, but hopefully it will lead you to other shows that will truly make your Halloween a celebration worth celebrating. Don't forget to check out the sponsors down below in the description of this podcast.
Make sure to check out our platform premiere of the movie Luther, which we're showing in honor of Reformation Day. If you don't know about the life of this extraordinary monk that changed the world by turning it back to God's Word, you need to check it out by becoming a member over at indiethinker.org/support, where you can also get
ebooks, audiobooks, movies, documentaries, and so much more by becoming a member over at indiethinker.org/support. But most importantly, go with God.